were struck by a train or something. And then all of the things that you bought for people who really didn't want what you bought anyhow are taken back to the store in a frenzy. We were at the shopping center last night up in Monmouth, and people are actually walking around like zombies in the days, and they're looking for something that somebody would like, you know. And but another Christmas, and along with God Bless America, we're singing Peace on Earth and Goodwill to Men, which is great, you know. And next week here we're going to do something that I think is kind of exciting. We're going to, Joan had a suggestion that we go back over the last year and take the greatest hits of 2001 and kind of just touch on different things that we went through. And some really astounding things we discussed during the year. And so that would be an interesting thing to do. But this is Christmas. And I really love this time of year. I think it's, to me, it's a beautiful time of year. And you seem to be drawn to people, and there's a feeling that you want to be around people and just, you know, hang out, have a few things to drink, have something to eat, and just talk. And it's just the insane buying that is so contradictory to the feeling that you get that feeling this time of year of, you know, wanting to socialize with people and be with people. But what ruins it is this need to buy. And how wonderful if we could experience the feeling that we feel now towards one another without this obligatory feeling that we have to buy something. The need just to be with one another, just to be able maybe to sing and, you know, just have fun with one another without spoiled by society's imposed need to buy things. The other evening we were in a restaurant here, and it was interesting. There was a waitress there who was obviously, you know, had some difficult times, and a hard-working person. And she was putting in a double shift to try to make enough money to buy for her kids and all this stuff. And she was working, yeah, she's a hard worker in this place. And she had lost $100 of the company's money that night, a $100 bill. And she was devastated.
What do you mean?
Her money.
Well, yeah, her tip money, yeah, her tip money. And
How do you lose that? Yeah.
well, somebody stole it. Obviously, you know, she put it down, and you know, you're back with a bunch of other people.
She changed to somebody. She gave him 100 instead of a 10.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, that was that. Anyhow, she would have worked that entire evening, and as it turned out, she would have made what, $102.
Yeah, she made 102, but she made $2.
Yeah, $2. So we left a tip that kind of made up for a good part of it. And we come up the next night into the restaurant, and she was actually off, but she had stayed hoping we would come in. And when we got in there, she came running over and she hugged and she's crying. I mean, everybody, why is this waitress crying in the middle of the restaurant or anything? But it was a beautiful thing. It was probably one of the nicest things I've ever experienced for Christmas. I can never recall. The gift wasn't mandated, it wasn't required, but it touched the heart. And to me, that's the Christ birth was experienced right there. This hardworking woman was kind of saved out of a catastrophe. And here in the middle of the restaurant, we all experienced that. And I really was touched by that. That was the Christ experience. I believe that, you know, we've really lost, that we can feel with one another during this time of year, during Christmas. There's something in the vibrations that, you know, come from above, and whether they be planetary alignments or what they are, you know, it's hard to say. But there is something that changes, and it's much more than obviously Christmas carols and things like that. There is some kind of electricity that abounds this time of year that draws people to one another. It can make many people terribly depressed. You know, they've got the suicide hotlines on 24-hour alert right now because some people just can't deal with it. They really get depressed. Others are filled with love and lots of good feelings. And but you know, as the season progresses, you know, as we go away from Christmas or further and further away we go, that feeling disappears. So there is something very special about this time of year that has to do with people being drawn to one another. Something electrical, something magnetic that has to do probably, and I believe this, with the formations of the celestial bodies at this time of year. They seem to generate a particular type of energy that makes us feel the way we do. So all of us here in this room, and many of you, television, have been raised with the story of Mary and Joseph traveling to Bethlehem. No room at the inn. The Virgin giving birth in a stable among the animals. The shepherds watching. The wise men coming, and the star shining down on all of it. You've heard that story, and you know that story, and it's been part of your life. Such a beautiful story, complemented by songs that are beautiful, such as Silent Night or It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. The story of the birth of Jesus in a stable is mythology. It's a mythological story. It never happened. And I would always pause after saying something like that, because it always had to give people time to think about, what did you just say? I said that the story of the birth of Jesus in a stable is mythology. It never occurred. There never was a child born to a virgin in a stable with shepherds and wise men and a star. It never occurred. But the wonder of that, after you initially hear a statement like that and start to put up your defenses, the wonder of it all is that as mythology, it speaks not of what happened, but of what happens. Because there truly is a child who is born of a virgin among the animal instincts of all of us. This is really true. We are the shepherds. We watch over the sheep, which are our thoughts. Think of that again. We are the shepherds. The sheep are our thoughts. How many of you have been told when you were a child, well, if you can't fall asleep, what did you do? You counted sheep and you watched them. We watch the sheep. The sheep are our thoughts. The wise men that come to us from the East is the new thoughts, the new information, the enlightenment that comes from the right hemisphere of the brain, from the spiritual side, from the emotional side, from the God side. So if you just think of the story, okay, the shepherd is us watching over our thoughts. The wise men from the East is wisdom from the right side. And so, by understanding that the story of Jesus in Bethlehem is a mythology, we've now been able to go into the mythological meanings and come up with a reality, a truth. That's a true story. Christmas is a true story. So we are the shepherds watching. The wise men are wisdom that comes from the right side when we are watching. The stable is the human body. Part of the specific part of the stable being that part of the mind. And the animal part is where the child is born. So right there, the animals being the physical nature. Okay. So amidst there, we've kind of covered there in the stable, there in that special place inside of the body, amongst the animals, which are those parts of us which are, our instincts, our physical being. The wise men from the east, wisdom from the right side, the shepherds, us watching. And the virgin is pure consciousness, which is unstained by human thought. So we have pure conscious. the Virgin. And the star is the higher light which follows all of us from above and enters our stable through the lotus or the pineal gland of the brain. The star is the higher light. Of course, there's no room at the inn because that's the physical part of the brain. And, you know, that's the part that is constantly active. That's the part that is consistently talking to us. And there's no room here to have a child of light because we're too busy. We're too busy to go to meditation. We're too busy to really look and all of these things. So you cannot possibly do it. You cannot. The child cannot be born in that part of the brain. It has to go to the stable, which is the quiet part, still within our animal instincts, and that's where the child is. That's what this story's about. It's mythology. But being mythology, it can be duplicated. You can allow Christmas to take place inside of you in a very real way. See? The wonder of the story is that it physically never happened, but in reality it can and does happen if we will turn away from the storytellers and instead of reading the story, become the story. Instead of reading about Christmas, become Christmas. Give birth to the Christ in the stable inside here. See? Moving out of the inn, realizing that the brain, which does all the business, cannot be a place where the child can be born, we move out of that into the stable, which is the quiet place, where in the midst of all our animal instincts, there can be this birth. And then we become shepherds by watching, as Jesus said. And then as we watch amidst our animal instincts, wisdom will come from the right side. And then as we separate from the thoughts of the mind, which is pure consciousness, the Virgin will give birth, and the light from the star will enter into the stable, and then we will be part of that which is the child. So it's really a wonderful thing. But what we have unfortunately been raised to do is concentrate on a stable that we put under a tree, or a stable that's put up on a church altar somewhere, instead of concentrating on the fact that the stable is inside of us. See? Then when we realize that, hey, you know, it's not under a tree, it's not out, it's us, then the Christmas story becomes real to each one of us. And that's really what is the essence of going from the stress and the unhappiness and the sickness to this point of having Christmas become part of us and becoming one with Christmas. All of your life now, you've read the story. Jesus and Joseph go to Bethlehem. No room at the inn, into the stable. She is a virgin, gives birth to the child. The shepherds come. The wise men come. The stars in the east and all this kind of... You've sung the song, Silent Night. It came upon a midnight clear, joy to the world. You've watched the gentle snow fall as you sing of peace on earth and goodwill to men. Yet there is an elusive part of it all that runs from you so much of the year. It's only here during a few days in December because we look at it as some kind of an event that happened thousands of years ago and is now carried out by Walmarts and Macy's. I mean, that's it. We don't understand it as a change that is being spoken of that occurs inside of us when we elect to be the Christmas story. We presently, all over the world, we're experiencing violence of earth people. Whatever the excuse, whatever the justification for their acts, they kill each other. Oh, I know. I mean, after the World Trade thing and then our involvement in Afghanistan, some good things have happened. I mean, the women now in Afghanistan are able to to go to school and get some. They say, well, it was a good thing we bombed there, but the problem is, according to God's thoughts, that should have never happened in the first place. I mean, you know, it depends. You know, Osama's the bad guy this time around. The last time around, the United States was giving him the weapons, and he was the good guy. You know, it's just all, unfortunately, things that oppress and hurt and kill people, and we justify it one way or another. We can always justify the violence that we do. Bigger and better weapons, and we can, you know, do all of these things. And then after we are killing them and they're killing us and people are blowing each other up and all of these terrible things, and we ask God to bless. But here's the blessing that God sent. And we don't understand it. We don't follow it. We don't become part of it. It doesn't require you to go to any church. It doesn't require you to go to any meeting hall. It doesn't require any of that. It requires you to go to your stable. Your stable, not mine. Sometimes I know, you know, people get the feeling as I might be talking a little unpatriotic because I come down totally against war or killing, but I have given my mind to God and myself totally to the instructions and details that are conveyed by Jesus Christ. And there's no room for any of it. You cannot be a patriot of the earth and be walking with God and Jesus Christ. You can't. It's impossible. Yes? What's that? Tell him about the phone call from the man. You tell me about the phone call from the man.
The one that went to the garage sale.
The man that went, would you come up here, please? The man that went to the garage sale? Yeah. Sounds like what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Bill?
Come up here. Come up.
Bill got a phone call the other day from this man in Connecticut.
Oh, yes. Now I remember.
Okay, you want to tell it now?
No, you tell it.
Okay. Anyhow, this man was so excited, and
yeah, you're as bad as Albert. You hold it up like
Albert.
that. This is what they do. Let me just say it. You give the microphone to Albert, and Albert say, well, I want to tell you this.
Then what you talk with your hands, right, Albert? Anyhow, he received a phone call from this man in Connecticut, and the man was so excited. And he had been a monk, a Franciscan monk.
Yeah,
Franciscan monk for many years, and left. And he went to a garage sale, and he came across some of Billy's tapes at a garage sale. And he called them up, and he said, I've got to get more of your stuff. Where do you get this? I can't believe it. It's the greatest that I've ever heard, and I don't know where you're getting all of this, but it's just you're just right on, and I have to learn more. So he was just like, you got to play the tape down here someday.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, but there was at a garage sale in Stratford, Connecticut. But here's the thing: they're selling them. They're not giving them away. They're selling them. We should get royalties, AJ. They're selling our tape.
But he was so.
Yeah, but he was a retired, if that's the name.
He left.
He left. He was a Franciscan monk for many years.
Start a garage sale ministry.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? All right. So wow. So, yeah. But anyhow, the point that I was making here was that, you know, if I get sounding like I'm not patriotic, but it's not true. I love this country and everything about it. It's just how countries interact with one another by doing all this destruction and killing. It's totally contrary to Jesus. You know, and I go by some churches with, you know, the flags in the windows, and you can't. You really can't. If you're going to follow Jesus Christ, then you've got to follow this light, and it transcends patriotism and all that stuff. It's hard for people to do, but you have to choose who you're going to hook up with. And if you're going to hook up with Jesus Christ, then you're not going to be able to agree to kill anybody or anything. You're going to have to depend on it that way. So I don't kill anything. I don't kill flies. I don't kill ants. I have, on occasion, swatted a mosquito, but only after it has bitten. But I mean, other than that, I don't kill anything, and I feel very, you know, and I feel very good about that, because I realize that that's the Christ in me, and that's the Jesus in me. And, you know, some people might think it's strange, but they thought Jesus was strange too. The Christ mind simply will not tolerate killing, regardless of what good of an explanation we have. You know, it just will not. So we could sit down and say, well, we had to do this because Osama was evil. But then Jesus will say to, well, wait a minute, you gave him all of his guns the last time around. He wasn't evil then. So, I mean, it's all, you know, you play into these things. You make these things happen. I mean, Osama is evil, and he destroys this World Trade Center. This country goes into Vietnam and raped that place. I mean, burned it. It was hideous. Children on fire, and we just left. Never mind. And we build our own memorial. So, I mean, you know, it's all bad. It's all bad. And you can't kill Osama anyhow. All you can do is wreck his body, because he comes back as something else equally as dangerous. So, I mean, it's all lunacy. And the lunacy comes because we haven't followed this, and we haven't followed the teachings of Jesus Christ at all. And so people cry, they make memorials, they give the widows folded flags at the graveyard. Don't they? And you know what? They did it this time. They did it in World War II, World War I, Spanish War. They did it back into the time when they were using swords and bows and arrows. They always stood at the grave, and they've never stopped killing each other. And it's wrong. So Jesus Christ says no. If the United States says yes, and Jesus Christ says no, then you've got to decide. And that is a difficult thing for a lot of people to do. It's not difficult for me at all. I just follow Jesus Christ, and that's the end of it. Many people who are claim to be followers of Jesus are very comfortable with war and killing. I mean, and you go down to the Bible Belt, some of these places, and, you know, they got, you know, Jesus is Lord, and then they got a shotgun in the back of the car or whatever. They don't go together. People use their own minds to justify the killing, but they never listen to Jesus about what happens when you kill something. All you're doing is destroying the body. The intelligence that you thought you killed finds another body and comes back and raises hell again 7 times worse than it was before. And it's so sensible. I mean, if your car breaks down, you get another car, you get in that car. You're still alive. It's the car that died. Well, it's the same with you. Your body is a car. And when it breaks down and you get out of it, you get another one. We never can understand this thing, yet Krishna taught it, Buddha taught it, Jesus taught it, Muhammad, everybody, it's just common sense. A body's just a bunch of stuff. It's chuck chop or whatever the heck that stuff is in his shop right. So all it is meat. What can meat do? Meat can't think anything. Meat can't love anything. Meat can't go anywhere. Meat's not intelligent. That meat is used by that intelligence inside, but when it gets bad and starts to go rancid, the light inside that's you gets the heck out and go gets another one. So you're not killing anything. You're not executing criminals. You're just destroying their bodies. They get out and they're coming back. That's why it happens over and over and over again. It's just bigger and badder weapons now. And that's why it makes it difficult. They used to kill people and they'd come back and, you know, they went from a bow and arrow to a sword. Not too bad. Now you're going from a rifle to, a 747 with bombs or whatever. Anyhow. So Jesus is ignored. Jesus says not only can't you kill anybody, no matter what's your excuse, you can't even get mad at anybody. But we go on killing, the blood flows, the bombs fall, the people die, the planes crash, the buildings are destroyed, and what does everybody do? They sing God Bless America. And wherever they are, in some other place, they sing God Bless Us. In Lebanon or Afghanistan or wherever this crazy stuff goes on. Take a beautiful planet Earth at Christmas time, and everybody's blowing, and they spent the whole time on here blowing it up. So I call out then to you, those of you who are sitting in this room, and those of you who are watching on television. Let's say this is December 23rd, for especially for, I'm drawing a blank on this number. Anybody who watches this program on Channel 8, starting next Sunday, it's 8:30, Channel 96. Channel 96, 8:30. Channel 8 is becoming Comcast 8, so just so you know that. But anyhow, what I would call out for you to do is to be a follower of Jesus Christ, all right? That would be my admonition to you. Be a follower of Jesus Christ, but do not be a follower of Christianity. Do not be a follower of any religion. Christianity, Buddha, Hindu, Islam, vegetarian, anything, don't get involved in it. Atheism, don't follow nothing. Follow Jesus Christ. Because following Jesus Christ, you don't connect yourself to any religion. You just do what he said and everything works. Okay? I mean, the guy, his whole career, the one thing he did more than anything else was wreck churches. Every time he got into a church, he got into a fight. So what do you want to get involved? You know that. So a follower of Jesus Christ means that you do what he says. You do not do what any pastor says. You do not do what any religion says. But you find out what Jesus says. And then when you find it out, you'll find out that he's saying the kingdom of God is inside of you. You don't need any pastors. You don't need any religions. You don't need any governments. The government is inside of you, and that's what Jesus teaches you. That you find the kingdom of God inside yourself. You find the key of knowledge inside yourself. You find the supreme light inside of yourself. You work with your single eye. By watching and waiting, you allow the glory of the Christ child to be born again within you. That's the beautiful part. That's the beautiful part of Jesus Christ. He pulls you out of all of these religious groups. It's not for you to be born again. It's for the Christ child to be born again within you. That's what the born again experience is. Jesus being born again inside of you. Jesus is born again here, born again here, that's what a born again person really is. And it's not to follow Christ. It is to follow Jesus. See, you don't follow Christ. Let me show you something. This is where a big mistake is made. Jesus is the teacher. Christ is the diploma. That's what you get. So you follow Jesus and you become Christ. It's Christ consciousness that you're looking for. Totally misunderstood. But that's what it is. See? So by doing what Jesus says, you allow Christ to be born in you. Christ is not Jesus' last name, but that's what a lot of people think. Really? It's a title. It means anointed. Jesus was anointed. Okay? So Christ is not Jesus' last name. So it's very, very important for you to understand that. Okay? So when you follow Jesus, you get Christ consciousness, which is a new consciousness. A Christ consciousness becomes your consciousness. That's the meaning of Christmas. That is the meaning of bringing happiness into your life and into the life of your family. You get away from all churches, all doctrines, all dogmas, all religions, all pastors, and you just become one with Jesus and his teaching so that you become one with Christ and his energy and his power. So Christ is not the name of a person, it is the name of the ultimate state of consciousness. That should be your Christmas gift to yourself, to achieve that state. The word Christ comes from Sanskrit, which is the most ancient language, and the word Christ comes from the Sanskrit word. Are you ready for this, everybody? Krishna. That's where it comes from. And in one Indian language, Bengali, Krishna is called Cristo. This is where it comes from. You see, you can never be Jesus. You ready? Listen. You can never be Jesus, but you can become Christ. Once again, you can never become Jesus, but you can become Christ. That's what the entire Christmas story is about. That's what Jesus tried to teach us. That is what has been lost in the buying and the selling. The money changers have totally polluted the temple. And they've ripped the stable out of the soul. And what have they done with it? They've placed it under a tree. The stable that is in you, that is your precious holy place where the virgin gives birth, they've taken it out and they've put it under a tree with cows and sheep and stuff. I follow God. I follow Jesus. I am not a Christian. If you're a Christian, then it's impossible to be a Christ. And that's the great secret. If you're a Christian, then it is impossible to be a Christ. That is the great secret. One more time. If you're a Christian, then it is impossible to be a Christ. Because once you accept yourself as a Christian, you have barred yourself from being Christ. You've cut yourself off from being Christ. You become a follower. See, you start to follow Christ because you're instructed to. You're instructed to follow Christ. And a follower is an imitator. You try to do things by what the church says or what the religious says. You cannot follow religion and have the Christ born within you. You can't be part of any religion and have Christmas unfold within you. That's what's so important. And it's so difficult because everybody's part of a religion. And then you realize, well, the Christ consciousness is not existing in this world, and that's why there was so much violence and sickness and hate. We have missed it. We have not become the Christ. Instead, we are following these different groups who are telling us what it means instead of actually going to the source. Now, Jesus said, if you do what he says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Let me just go back on that. Jesus said, if you do what he says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Then what's the question about? Why are we doing what a pastor says? Why are we doing what a government says? Why are we doing what a church says? Because we're all in bondage to the stresses and to the violence that make us sick and kill us at an early age. Jesus said if you do what he says, you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Why not do what he said? It's so simple to do what he said. It doesn't cost you any money. You don't have to go anywhere. I mean, why not? So you have to seek truth. But if you're part of any religious beliefs, then you already have prejudices that you cannot see the truth. If I turn around and say, look, this is what Jesus said, your religion says, well, yeah, but we're not supposed to do this and we're not supposed to do that. Jesus says you're supposed to watch. So I said, well, we do the watching meditation. But your church says, oh, well, we're not supposed to, we're not supposed to do that, meditate and kind of stuff. So what happens then? You have a preconceived notion, you're part of a religious belief, you're cut off from becoming the truth. You have to take everything you have ever learned, everything your mother ever taught you about religion, everything your family ever taught you about religion, everything every school, every religious institution, every pastor ever taught you about religion, and you have to take them into the ladies' room or the men's room, and flush. They have to go away. You have to actually unload everything, and then you come with virgin, pure consciousness, prepared to give birth to the Christ child inside of you. Your religion, any religion, I'm talking here, and I'm talking about full acceptance of Jesus so that the Christ becomes alive in you, and every religion, every Christian religion standing out there will say no, that I'm wrong about something. There's contradictions. Your consciousness must be totally virgin. No preconceived ideas. If you have a preconceived idea about what this is about, it won't work for you. No traditions. If you're part of a tradition, forget about it. No beliefs. pure nothingness must be there. So you can follow the child being born in that stable which is within you. In other words, a clean start. I abandon, I quit, I retire from all connections with all religious groups. I am not involved in any government affairs. I am involved totally in the birth of the Christ within me. If you're prepared to do that, it'll happen. If you've already accumulated beliefs, then there's no virginity in you. Your beliefs have been born from within. You've got to rid yourself of all of them. And you've got to return to the virgin state. Now, I'm not saying that you rid yourself of your beliefs and your traditions and listen to me. That's just as bad. You rid yourself of your traditions and your beliefs and you listen to Jesus Christ. And it's very simplistic. It doesn't require any great intelligence or any teacher to stand with you and say, this is what Jesus said to do. If you do that, if you get rid of everything you've believed, if you get rid of all of your traditional attachments, your governmental attachments, then you can give birth to the Christ child. Then the wise men will come from the east. The wisdom will come from the right side. You as a shepherd must watch, and then you will behold the star whose light comes down from above to bring you to the state of God consciousness, of Christ consciousness. If you're watching, you will see the same star that the story talks about. The shepherds watching their sheep saw the star. The wise men saw the star. You'll see it too if you're watching. I wanted to quote the Bhagwan. I like him. He's a teacher, a screwy guy, completely screwed up with people, but a brilliant mind. But Bhagwan said, don't get too close to me because, you know, your head will really get screwed up because just listen to what I say, he said. But if you want to get close and know who I am, he says, just remember something. When you sit out with your lover on the grass, just look at the stars from a distance. You get too close, you're going to realize they're just a bunch of mud and gas. But this is what Bhagwan said. He said, truth is available only to one who says, I don't know anything, but I am ready to know. I am ready to go through the process of knowing, but I will not believe it until I see it. To see is to be enlightened, to understand, to flow with the feeling and ways of Christ as taught by Jesus. To totally be free from any agreement with violence or war. So I say, well, you know, you got to separate yourself from government. Why? Because if they say, well, you got to go to war, we say, well, Jesus, I can't. You can't. When you reach that point, it is the Christ within you. It is no longer you. It is no longer your patriotism. It is no longer your tradition. It is no longer your religion. It is Christ. I have the mind of Christ has to be your goal. I have the mind of Christ has to be your Christmas. Because to speak and to believe like Jesus believed is Christmas. To totally abandon the ways of country, the ways of politicians, the ways of the church, is to be Christ-like, is to be like Jesus. That's what he did. That's what you have to do. It's like Paul in the Bible said, it's not me, it's the Christ within me. That's what has to happen. Now, so the question is on this Christmas, can you reach that point? Can you bring Christmas from out of the myth into the reality by allowing the stable to be the place where the virgin gives the Christ child inside of you? Can you allow this entire story of Christmas to take place inside of you? Are you prepared to leave the inn, which is your mind with all its thoughts? Are you prepared to become a shepherd and watch? Are you prepared for the wise men or wisdom to come from the right side? Are you prepared to visit the stable, which is that quiet place inside of you? Are you prepared to do all this amidst the animal nature, which is your very being? Are you prepared to allow virgin consciousness? And are you prepared for that light of the star to come and enter within the lotus, which is the pineal? If you're prepared, then Christmas is going to be an amazingly different and immensely beautiful thing for you this year. If you can reach that point. To allow the virgin to give birth to the Christ child inside of you as you watch over your thoughts. And then as the light shines down upon you, Can you watch as the wisdom starts to come? You start to understand things. You start to know things. Can you feel like Jesus? Can you believe like Jesus? Can you believe like Jesus that if your eye be single, your body will fill with light? Most religious people, Christians, cannot, never even heard that, don't know what it means. It's the foundation upon which his teachings are left. If your eye be single, your body will fill with light. Can you believe that? Can you believe like Jesus that the kingdom of God is within you? Every time I speak with a Christian and say, Jesus said the kingdom of God, well, he meant within you and all over them. No, he didn't say, he said within you. See? Because how you treat me or how you might treat an animal or how you might treat nature depends on the kingdom being inside of you, not there. Somebody else can take care of their kingdom. The kingdom's got to come to life within inside of you if it's going to make a difference to somebody next door to you. Can you believe like Jesus that the first thing that you should do is seek the kingdom, not read a Bible, not get confirmation or baptisms or anything, but seek inside of yourself for the kingdom before you do anything else? Can you believe like Jesus? Can you believe like Jesus that the key of knowledge is not in a book, is not in a university, is not in a temple, that the key of knowledge is hidden within you? And can you believe like Jesus that that key of knowledge is taken away when you do not enter within yourself? Can you believe like Jesus? Can you believe like Jesus that a crucial part of this new birth is watching yourself? Can you believe like Jesus that you've got to separate from thoughts to achieve this birth? Think of that. Can you believe like Jesus that you've got to separate from the thoughts of your mind to achieve this birth? If you can believe all of those things, and thus act on the words of Jesus, then the Christ can be born within you. Then Christmas can take place, just as Jesus promised. At that day, as he said, you will know I am in the Father, you in me, and I in you. That's the Christmas that I would pray will come to your life. To take your mind, your brain, so saturated by government, so saturated by corporations, so saturated by religion, so saturated by family, so saturated by neighbors, so saturated by the opinions of others. Place it in the washing machine with the most powerful detergent, wash away all the patriotism, all the corporate religions, all the family stuff, all the religious beliefs, and come into the stable pure as virgin and allow the child to be born inside of you. And watching, you'll see the virgin inside give birth to this child. And then as you nurture that child in your meditation and watch him grow within you, you'll find that the government of your life is suddenly taken away, the burdens lifted and placed on his shoulder. As it says in Isaiah 9, for unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, and the thing that has eluded this horrible, violent world, the Prince of Peace. That's what can be your Christmas present. If you're prepared to allow the Virgin Mother to conceive within you, knowing that you have to reject patriotism, knowing that you might have to reject family, knowing that you have to reject religion, knowing that you'll have no beliefs of any kind. When that occurs, your Christmas will come. And I pray that this will be your New Year's resolution. It's difficult in the flesh, as the story was told to us, because, you wind up here. You come to a strange place like this. You associate with a chosen few. You're drummed out of your family. The system rejects you. You wind up enduring a crucifixion, an attack against your Christ existence. And it all comes from the system of government and religion. What attacked Jesus when he was supposedly on the earth? Government and religion. Always does. People that are just total love and total healing and total peace are always attacked by government and religion, because those two groups stand for none of that stuff. But suddenly you become awakened to a new earth. You're part of the light beings that come down, known to the religious ones as angels of light. You become one with them. You have knowledge of things that they don't know anything about. You follow things along as they develop, and then you see them for what they are, the fulfillment of promises written so long ago. And the great promise of the child is that the government of your life will be upon his shoulder. The teaching of Bhagwan, again, is about Jesus, is something I wanted to share with you on the eve of this Christmas. He says, Bhagwan says, Jesus transforms people just by his touch. He overpowers people. He surrounds them. His energy starts dancing around them. He starts pulsating his being. And in his pulse, the powerful pulse of Jesus, the other person starts pulsating. In the beginning, hesitant and afraid, as we all are. And then not knowing where he's going, but slowly, he gains momentum. And Bhagwan, it's like a dancer, you know. When the dancer's dancing and the music is on, and then something of the dancer starts getting inside of you, and your feet start moving, and you start tapping your chair and all that kind of stuff. Your head starts nodding. You're filled with it. The pulsation has reached you, and before you know, you're up dancing with Jesus. If you're a woman, you're dancing in a magnificent ballroom. You're dancing one with this Christ, this light. If you're a man, you're dancing side by side, however you would, like somebody on TV. But you become full with it. And then death comes, emptiness comes, and now the cup that is your life can be filled with the new wine because all that old stale stuff has been cleansed from it. You're dead. The way you used to be has died. Christmas has come. The child is born of a virgin in the stable of your heart. And joy to the world, that's you. Silent night, holy night, that's you. God can come alive in you because you've died to all of this old junk. Only when the seed dies does it become a tree. Only when the river disappears into the ocean does it become the sea. True conversion is not when a person becomes a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu. True conversion happens when a person becomes divine, a Christ. It's like being away from the snow-capped Rocky Mountains and seeing them from a distance. The virgin snow shining like gold in the sun. You're far away. It's just a picture. But as Christmas comes and you give birth to this Christ child inside of you, suddenly you're not far away. You're part of it. You're not seeing the sun reflected on the snow. You are the sun. And Christ's consciousness is born inside of you. And everything becomes new. This is the wonderful part. And what does it take? It's all within inside of you. It's in your house. It doesn't have to go out anywhere. That's the gift. That's the new life. That's the new happiness. Let me just read you, as we wrap this up, a poem of Krishna. And on this Christmas, I read it to you. And I just was struck by it. I don't know if it'll touch you or not, but it did me. It said, "You alone can break the cord that binds us now. No one but you, O Krishna. You are the tree. I, the bird that nests in your branches. You are the ocean. I, the fish that swims in your depths. You are the hill. I, the peacock that dances on your top. You are the full moon. I, the chakra bird that never turns its gaze from your light. You are the gold. I, the powder rubbed on to make you shine. You are the Lord of the three worlds. And I am the one who sings your song, hoping you will hear me." And so I hope that as you sing the songs this Christmas, you'll provide it with a new meaning, a new life, a new birth, a new happiness. Just go with me for a minute. Silent night, holy night. Your meditation in the darkness brings a stillness from the rampaging thoughts to the holiness of the divine. All is calm. All is bright. And as your mind is quieted of its thoughts, the light comes forth to shine the presence of God. Round yon virgin mother and child, Pia Mater, the tender virgin mother within you, brings forth the new child who will take your burdens upon your shoulder. And then in your heart stable, as you watch over your thoughts, the Holy Mother within you conceives of the blessed child. Holy infant, so tender and mild, this child, is only born set apart from the business of the inn, where business is conducted in your brain, where the social sets meet, where the governments meet, where religions meet, where business is conducted. Outside, under that star, in the still of the night, the Virgin Mother holds the tender infant. And she prepares then to extend the child to you, for this newborn baby is you. Sleep in heavenly peace. Sleep in heavenly peace. Finally, it comes to your life. The sleep of peace. The assurance that the struggle of life will be lifted from you and placed on the child who is within you and who is you. The Christ has come. Now, concluding, moving from the beauty of the words to the reality of your life, it is time to give over every belief that you have accumulated, every allegiance that you have to government or religion. It is time to give it over and run from it as fast and as far as you can. Then hide in the meditation of that single eye ordained by Jesus, at home, wherever. I appeal to you to begin now to look at the teachings of Jesus and to follow them, not as they're interpreted, but as they're written in the book. I invite you to listen to Jesus and in your life to begin watching, to begin practicing the single eye, to begin to separate from the thoughts of the mind, and to allow the kingdom of God to appear within you, allow the Christ to be born anew within you, and to remove the unhappiness and the worldly stress to be placed by this confidence of love in the inner, never-ending life of Jesus. So make this coming year the time when you'll move away and move out of the inn to the stable. Make this coming year the time when you'll work at your meditation with one purpose, that Christmas may suddenly appear within you and fulfill what God, as the Most High, has ordained since the very beginning of time. Merry Christmas means joy. And so I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Amen.